y'all. So you're about to hear another episode of the Indigo Podcast. And today, I normally do a little thing in the beginning, but I ain't gonna lie, I just want to get straight into it and just give y'all what I gotta say. So the first thing I'm gonna get into, working smarter, because I think hard work will always be a major component and one thing you should always have, no matter what you do, no matter if you major in arts or you like doing what do you call it? What's it called? I ain't gonna lie, I kind of forgot, so we're just gonna dismantle that. But you run, you rap, you sing, whatever. Hard work and getting after it is a major component. But I just think a lot of people, and I'll get into this a little bit more later, but they just throw a bunch of volume and a bunch of work all at once. And I mean, hard work is important, but there needs to be intent behind the work. And I think this goes right hand in hand with working smarter. I think one of the main things that goes along with working smarter is auto-regulation. And auto-regulation is the act of pivoting and altering something, and it means to stimulate growth in the face of something changing in your life suddenly. So this could be, maybe there's a wedding that comes up. Maybe, let's say you're a basketball player, you get injured, so you're going to have to pivot from that and learn how to cross train. Or maybe if you run, you get injured, you're going to have to cross train. There's a lot of different things that could come up in life that will shift whatever you thought was planned, and you have to be like, okay, I have to adapt. And I just think auto-regulating thing, when I think about auto-regulation, I really think it relates really good with training. Because let's say one day you wake up and you hit legs last night and your legs are trash and you have a tempo workout that day. It probably wouldn't be the smartest to go run that tempo workout, because first of all, it'll be a little bit hindered. Your legs are compromised from the leg training you did. So the effort you can put out, and the thing is, since the effort can be as high, you probably won't gain as much from it. So you could switch that out with an easy run and get some easy mileage. And honestly, since your legs are compromised, it'll be more beneficial towards the easy run spectrum of things, because your heart rate will be lower because your effort will be lower. So it'll benefit you more in terms of being in zone 2 instead of trying to go into high zone 3, high zone 4 in a tempo run and potentially making the fatigue worse. So I think auto-regulation, like I said, it could be choosing to swap out an easy run with a tempo workout because you haven't recovered that well from a week of training. Maybe you, just like me, past 3 days, well, not days, but past 3 nights, my sleep hasn't been the best, so recovery obviously isn't optimal. Or maybe moving your lifting days around to make sure you can get better sleep, like I just said, and make time for obligations that come with. Like for me, I'm in choir, so maybe I have a choir concert. So let's say it's cutting it close, because if it's cutting it close, but I can still get it in, and I know I can, I'm still gonna put it there. But if it's like it starts at 5 p.m. and I know I get out of school at 2:35, I'll probably get out of the gym at 3:50ish, maybe 4. My workouts are at least an hour, so I know I'll be cutting it very close. I'd be late, so just looking at your schedule beforehand and putting things certain days. I think it's auto-regulation. Then let's say some comes up and I'll flip it here. I'll do it a little bit earlier so I can make time for it. But what auto-regulation is not saying you wake up and your legs are not fatigued at all, but you're trying to trick your mind saying, oh, I hit legs today, but my legs are fatigued. In reality, they're not. Auto-regulation is not lying to yourself and making excuses as to why you can't do said thing just because you're not motivated that day or you don't want to do it. That's not auto-regulation. And I think auto-regulation comes with a lot of responsibility, knowing yourself, and just integrity. Don't lie to yourself when it comes to auto-regulation, because if you do, it will not work. You'll only be shooting yourself in the foot. But I mean, in my opinion, if your legs are trashed or past few nights you haven't been sleeping the best, I honestly don't think it'd be the smartest to do a tempo run that day. I mean, obviously you could take that up with your coach, but the coach would probably say the same thing. Hey, maybe swap it out for an easy run, and then the next day come back, because the thing is, you will take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward, because if you just went out and ran a tempo run, you'd probably be doing more harm than good in that scenario. But I just like attributing it. I don't know why I flipped my T's for some reason to running, because I think that's just a clear, very clear cut example. Okay, this is when auto regulation works, and this is when, okay, you're kind of lying to yourself. But also in terms of working smarter, I think it also limits rigidness, because I'm still working on this personally, but life is not rigid. I think life is literally a gray area, because you have black and white thinking. Black is one extreme, white is a whole nother extreme, and gray is just neutral. It's just a broad variety of things, you know what I mean? So I just think there's a difference between Also, I want to caveat here. There's a difference between being rigid and holding a standard, because a lot of people say, oh, you're eating healthy, oh, you're going out for a morning run, or you're going out to lift instead of going out to go drink or whatever. That's you being rigid. You're being too serious. You're being too extreme. No, that's not being extreme. That's just holding a standard and doing what you set out to do, and holding a core set of values. That's what it is. And just, that's a whole different topic, but that's not being rigid. That's just being real, to be honest. That's just being a real human being and having real standards. Being rigid would be, oh, I'm never going out again. I'm never going out to a wedding. I'm just going to stay at home all day and train all day and not talk to anyone. I think that's being rigid. I think that's being kind of a robot. I mean, you can train hard and get after it, but I think you should tend to your social life and other obligations and things you do in life, talk to people, and, I'm not saying you got to be outside all day, but what I'm saying, like, I think having a good social connection with people is important, and just saying, oh, I'm going to train all day like a monster and go run 10 ultra marathons and not talk to anyone. I think there's a time and place for that, but if you do that 24/7, 365, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. But yeah, like hitting your training consistently, eating healthy, that's not rigid. That's just holding yourself accountable. Wow, words are hard. Accountable, and just doing what you set out to do. But I just think being rigid is working against yourself and dwelling in habits that don't really serve you well. Because when I think of being rigid, I think of, having end all be all set routines and not being able to flip something when life changes, because life is bound to change. It doesn't matter, it might seem like it's on a certain pattern, then life is like whoa, not really. But other than being rigid and just working smarter, the next thing I want to go into is change and adaptations, because there's a lot of things in life that should not change and be the cornerstones of how you approach anything, which obviously, if you know me, consistency, integrity, ambition, just getting after it, and having the courage to do what you said to do. And obviously these are cornerstones of life. These aren't going anywhere. I don't think you should change that at all, but I don't think you can always stay the same to forge growth in your life. You can't expect a different result if you didn't change anything. So I just think the biggest roadblocks that hinder potential growth you can experience from change and adaptation is stubbornness and ego. Because I think being stubborn, in my personal opinion, is a strength in some sorts. I just feel like, based from experiences, naturally I am a stubborn person, but I've just noticed from experience that gives you an extra ambitious tendency and driver to be even more consistently good and get after it. Because if you're stubborn, that standard is not going anywhere. You're not going to fold on any circumstance if you're stubborn. But at the same time, if you're stubborn and you need to change something that's really hurting you, you're going to have a hard time detaching yourself from that. And I've definitely experienced that, because there's certain things I've done that really don't benefit me at all, and I'm just stubborn. So I'm just like, I don't really want to drop this. In reality, if I dropped it, I'd be taking 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. So I just think it can be a limiter, but I honestly think it's a strong suit, in my opinion, if you use it correctly. And I just think if you're stubborn, because naturally some people are just stubborn, it can help you to drive growth and just hold a hard and unrelentless standard. Just from my experience and from what I've seen from other people that may be stubborn. But I just think, like I said, the key is to know when to lean into a more stubborn and stern approach, because I think you have to set boundaries at times. But I think there's also a lot of times when you have to open up and pivot and welcome change and be a little bit more open-minded, and not just be so, oh, this is the way and I'm not dropping this and I'm gonna change this. I'm so married to this approach. But I mean, sometimes you gotta open up and actually, change things and pivot and actually, see what else is out there and see what other people have to say about certain things that you may not know everything about. But like I said, well, I didn't say this part yet, but I am about to. I think a good example of this is I've had plenty of times when I'm at the gym, and if you take lifting serious, like, shout out my dude Bryson, if you're watching this, you'll feel this. I just know. But there'll be so many times I'm at the gym, and the thing is, if you dial in your training and you track your lifts are in a certain order, depending. Maybe you put your compound movements in the beginning, so you're putting all your effort in the beginning, so it doesn't hinder them later in the set. Then, because let's say I put bench press towards the end of it, you know what I'm saying? Or wait, no, actually, scratch that. Never mind. That's not what I'm trying to even get at. But the point is, I put my the thing I was trying to say. I put my lifts in a in a certain order. They're in a certain order. Just they fall in a certain order, or whatever. So sometimes, let's say I finish a set, and let's say I'm about to do seated hamstring curl, and I look, someone's on a machine, and I'm like, all right, I gotta change my order. And I'm not gonna lie, if you lift, you don't really like that because it just throws things off. So let's say you did squat, and then normally you would do a hamstring movement after, because obviously you just hit quads, so you want your quads to recover while you're doing a hamstring movement that haven't been hit yet. And obviously, if you're gonna switch the movement, you might have to do Bulgarian split squat. And obviously, that hits majority quads, or you're hitting your quads again when that's not really optimal. So, I mean, obviously, there's two options here. You could pick another movement and maximize your time, or you could just sit there and be like, I'm gonna wait. And then you just wait. And they might be on there forever, and you're just wasting time. And then you finally get on the machine. Now, obviously not every time someone's gonna be on the machine, but when they are, you're gonna have to pivot and switch the order of your workout so you can, make the most of your time while you're there. But if you're just leaning too much into stubbornness and rigidity, you're gonna sit there and waste time and then not capitalize on the opportunity you have to pivot and actually make use of your time. So anyway, I just think that's a really good example, just working out and changing the order. But I just think it's not really the keys and to be perfect and rigid. I think it's just to be done, because I think done is better than perfect. Because if you're trying to be perfect, I think a lot of times it does more harm than good, because you're trying to focus on the little pebbles. Well, no, focus on the big pedals in life and just trying to pick up all these big rocks instead of doing the little things right to build up to where you want to be. But third thing I want to talk about, and I kind of referenced it a little bit, setting boundaries. And one thing I want to make very clear in this section is being flexible is not an excuse to drop everything you stand for and just become sloppy. And it's just really a means to keep the ball rolling and make things more efficient, because being flexible doesn't mean you swift lifts around because you aren't motivated, like I kind of mentioned in the morning. Well, in the morning. Oh my gosh. In the beginning of this. And, or just because you just don't feel like training. Or being flexible isn't switching a lift around. Wait, hold up. Whoa, I'm thrown off. Let me reel it back in. Being flexible this is what it is. Switching a lift around because maybe you've gotten poor sleep. Pretty much a lot of the things I said in the beginning, not gonna lie. But let's say you switch a lift around because you have poor sleep. This will be a driver to more progressive overload, because let's say you hit that lift and you've gotten poor sleep. Just from experience, your lifts will go down and your strength will go down. But if you're like, all right, let me move this lift around, you can come back even stronger and progress in the long term instead of you just winning there sleep deprived. But I think there is still a foundation and some boundaries between being flexible, but you can't be super loose. And I think it's kind of the gray area. Like, you can't be super loose and you can't be super rigid, because if you're too rigid, it will be unsustainable and you'll just be too stern in your approach, and you'll just feel like you can't really go anywhere. You'll feel like you're boxed in. If you're too loose, there's no hard standards, there's no foundation, there's no guideline, and there's no direction of where you're going. So I just think you have to be not too rigid, but you have to be, okay, this is my boundaries. You can't be too loose. You can't just be going everywhere and just going haywire. But I think there's a really big gray area of the both of them, so obviously it's never going to be perfect. You might make some mistakes along the way, but I just think, learning from it, just kind of going through experience, it helps you know when to set boundaries, know when to, okay, I can kind of open up and learn more here, or maybe I can go hang out here, or whoop de whoop, whatever you're trying to do. But I just think be flexible, but within reason. And I just think being real with yourself is key here, because if you're not, things will get sloppy and things will not turn out the way you really want to. The desired outcome you want, you probably won't achieve if you just allow things to go haywire and just become chaos. But fourth thing I got here is intent is everything. And it's one of the things I've learned recently, is just really how important intent is behind your choices and actions. And I mean, this is a good example. I'm going to go back to training. You could lift aimlessly every day of the week. You could run every day of the week, seven days a week. But if you're just doing straight track workouts when you're supposed to be getting some easy runs in, or you're just doing straight chest 7 days a week, or straight legs 7 days a week, there's no intent here. What about your exercise selection? Are you having good quality exercises? Are you cognizant of what weights you're using, what reps you're aiming for based on your last session. I mean, if you're not, those sessions are kind of meaningless. You're just throwing stuff at the darting board, wishing, there's no intent behind it. And I just think intent also ties into volume, because one thing I realized, more is not always necessarily better. I mean, obviously, volume is important. You need certain amounts of volume to grow in the gym and running and in life in general. You need to do some type of work. Obviously, you can't just say, and I mean, I think intensity, honestly, I think a lot of people lack intensity in what things they do, but volume is important as well. But I just don't think doing more makes you better than other people or gives you a one-up just because you did more than them or you ran faster than them on one split or whatever. I mean, that's cool and all, but what are you doing consistently good? That's the main question. Are you being occasionally great or consistently good? Are you consistently getting your easy mileage in? Are you consistently hitting your splits and workouts? Or are you just doing that? Are you a one-hit wonder? I mean, volume is important, but what does your effort look like? Are you putting in effort consistently over a extended period of time, or are you just doing completely nothing and just spinning your wheels? But I just think intention is the basis of everything, because without intent, a clear distribution of both effort and volume would be harder to execute. So also, I just think ego gets in the way here, because let's say for example, you run 40-mile weeks and you post it on Strava, and you just do that to appeal to others and just make it seem like, oh, I'm so ahead of the game and whoop de whoop, and I'm so big and dandy. I mean, 40-mile weeks, I mean, if you build up to that, obviously that's good for you where you're at, but it depends on what your intention is. I mean, if you go from running not at all to 40-mile weeks, I don't think that's a good move. Even it doesn't matter how grandiose 40 miles looks to other people or to your ego. I mean, if you're going from 0 miles to 40, you're bound to get injured. So in that situation, more is not better. So overall, that'd be doing more harm than good, because you're just throwing more volume with no intention at all. But I just think you have to lean more into rationality and egotism a lot of the time, because if you're rational about things and you're intentional about your approach, I think it'll be more strategic and it'll be more efficient in the long haul. But fifth thing and the last thing I want to go over with y'all before I let y'all go is being flexible can be hard. And obviously what's hard for one person is different person to person and vice versa. But I just think, based off of my own experience, choosing to invite change and just pick something and go, rather than overanalyzing and overthinking things, is a hard choice. Because I just think overanalyzing things and overthinking is a sign of mistrust within yourself, and a problem of contentment, and a problem of being too close-minded, and a problem of just not loving yourself. That's what I've learned just off of experience, because if you're overanalyzing something and you're overthinking something, I just don't think you really trust yourself that you can execute said thing and that you can endure the process. Because I just off of my experience, when I'm overthinking something, it's kind of, you feel like a what do you call it? Like, you feel like an imposter in your own mind, and you're like, you don't believe the stuff you've done. And I just think this is where contentment comes in, because I just think a lot of people, I watched this video, a Nick Bear video. He got hit by a car, which is crazy, but he was saying how he thinks that was a sign of God telling him you need to slow down, because based off of what he said, he's just saying he was in a go, like he's just in a straight go mode mindset. And I agree too. I think that was a sign of, okay, like he was saying, since you won't stop, God is saying, I'm going to stop you myself. So it was just, I just think, and when you're in a go mindset, you don't give yourself the time of day to be content. Now, like he said this too, and I'm gonna pick off of this. He said contentment and being complacent is not the same thing. Because being complacent, saying, oh, I'm good, I don't want to go for any more, I don't want to keep going, I don't want to keep striving for more. Being content is being grateful and having gratitude for what you have, being okay with that, and still having ambition to go after more, but not being upset with what you have, and being aware and kind of evaluating where you're at in life. And I just think if you're overanalyzing things, I just feel like you're not content, and I just feel like you don't really trust what you're doing, and you're just kind of puzzled on your own self-identity and what it is you're trying to get after and and who it is you are. Because I feel like a lot of people do a lot of cool things in life, and I just feel like, honestly, they become their biggest enemy. They're like, oh, like, I'm not really sure, or they just start doubting themselves. And I just feel like over analyzing and just kind of being unsure and just kind of being rigid, I feel like it's a safety net of just covering up the mistrust they have within themselves and the doubt they have with themselves. Because I feel like, from experience, being rigid can be kind of a crutch, because it's just like you have a sense of control instead of just loosening up a little bit and welcoming change and just welcoming another approach. Because I don't know, I just feel like on the other side of being flexible is kind of scary in a way, but you just have to trust and know that you are who you say you are, and just be okay with making mistakes in the process. And I just think choosing the route of being flexible isn't always the most glaring approach. 'Cause I mean, just in terms of fad diets, like, carnivore, all meat and all fruit and all dairy and all eggs, that's very rigid. And it's just more like hardcore, like, like, I don't know, it just seems more appealing than, okay, let's say, okay, you eat more whole foods, maybe you have some Jack in the Box here and there if you want, 80-20, like the whole 80-20 rule thing. That's more flexible than the carnivore diet. 'Cause the carnivore diet is an elimination diet. But I just think being more flexible and being more rational and being more realistic is a more less appealing approach. So I just feel like being more black and white, it gets more eyes on you, it gets more attention, and it's just more grabbing than saying, eat whole foods most of the time. If you want some ice cream every now and then, it will not kill you. That's cool. Just don't do it in an OD amount. That's like, bro, like, that's too simple. It doesn't work. I need some extreme, like, carnivore diet, all fruit diet, all vegan diet, all raw foods, no cooked foods. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just sounds more invigorating than eat whole foods most of the time. You know what I'm saying? So I just think being flexible can be uncomfortable, but I just think that's the point of it all. It's just being open to being a student of change, and being open to putting your pride aside and just going all in on your approach to be rational, but also with a sense of effort, attention, and consistency. But I just think being flexible can be hard, but if it was easy, everyone would do it. So I just think leaning into that and just being real with yourself and being rational, because I think a lot of times when we overthink as human beings, we're thinking in a panicked and a frantic mind state. We're like, oh, like, what if this happens? What if this happens? Like, oh, what if this works? Instead of just picking kind of what I said a couple episodes ago, picking the simple approach, because honestly, simple always wins, and that's the hard right. And I just think being flexible is the hard right too, for me personally. I don't know if y'all can relate to that, but I just think sometimes being rigid is the safe route instead of being flexible. And I just think a lot of the times you're missing out on opportunities, because I mean, we can all wait for the best opportunity when things line up perfectly or whatever. I mean, I think a lot of times you just gotta go. I'm not saying like go, because I mean, I mentioned earlier you should be content, but sometimes you just gotta go for it and see what happens. I mean, you can't always wait for the best opportunity, because, like, for example, when I first started recipes, I ain't gonna lie, I was thinking about starting recipes my sophomore year, and then I didn't start until I went on a walk my junior year, and I posted a little short, and then I went for it. I mean, I don't regret doing that, because I think everything falls into place the way it should be. But at first I was waiting, like, let me get the equipment. Like, I used to do this with music, like, let me get the best preset, let me get the best equipment. No, do it with what you got, and then you'll figure it out along the line. But that was the episode, just talking about how being flexible isn't a weakness, and not being so rigid all the time, thinking in a more rational headspace, and allowing change to happen, and allowing room for adaptation, and just being more open to what the world has to offer. But anyway, that was episode 62. But yeah, anyway, that was the episode, and I'm gonna see you guys next time.